Roll Tide, everybody. Welcome to Elephant in the Room with Jay Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie talking Alabama football as they get set to take on Vanderbilt in Nashville Saturday. And still kind of buzzing after the number one ranking in the AP and beating Georgia and so many other things. But you got to remember that Vanderbilt is a pretty good team this year, and they could beat Alabama. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Let me hit the open for Jay. Our open feels like we're doing like a kid's documentary.
Yeah. Yeah, the content doesn't align with the opening.
That cartoon elephant, he's like, I don't even hang out with these guys. Too raunchy for me.
He'd be out the door.
He'd be like, he quit with his fake Bear Bryant hat on. Alabama, number one. We talked about this. We got into this a little bit already, but number one team in the country, and so many good things going on right now. Jalen Milroe is now one of the favorites, or the favorite, according to Mel Kiper. Could be a first-round pick, first quarterback taken. Ball hasn't touched the ground. 1 interception in 8 games. Alabama's winning, and they just knocked off Georgia. Been some ups and downs along the way, but they're throwing basically rat traps around the facility because you can't overlook Vandy, and that's the tough part about this sport.
Yeah, it's back to your Mel Kiper statement. It's crazy to me how, the NFL draft to me is one big beauty pageant and just hype machine. How do you? Jalen Milroe hadn't changed a ton in the last 10 games, and then all of a sudden after Georgia, where he makes a lot of plays that us that watch know he's capable of making. And then all of a sudden you've got national media saying that he's a first-round draft pick. It's insane to me how people go from one end of the spectrum to the other just based on one performance. It kind of shows you what the media does. Really, really focus in on one big game. Don't really watch the entirety of seasons or the entirety of a guy's career. But we've also always known that when you and I talk, I feel like we're kind of on the same page with where we are on Jalen. More than capable of taking this team to a national championship. He's got all the tools, a weapon in every area of the game, and good to see him finally getting some respect.
Yeah, it is. We've kind of been on the bandwagon for a while, but I'll tell you, he's improved in ways that I didn't even see coming. I thought he was a really good quarterback, and other than throwing mullet at the mullet toss, I'm really impressed with his all-around athleticism. He can run, he can throw, except if it's a dead fish. And I really like the guy, man. I just like him. I think he's a leader. Like Mike Johnson said on the All-American report, he's like, this guy wasn't going out and shopping himself. He wasn't threatening to hit the transfer portal. He wasn't crying when Nick Saban left. He wasn't following a coach to try to make more money with our biggest opponents. The guy was basically like, hey, him and Tyler Booker and those guys stuck by Alabama, and now all of a sudden the fruits of that are coming to fruition. Fruition. They're putting it together, man. This guy is like really leading this football program, and I think they can win a national championship.
Oh, we're more than capable of winning a national championship. It's getting that consistency, that mindset of, again, Saturday was, we looked like a team that is as talented as anybody in the country. And again, how you scout our dynamic run game along with our explosive plays on the outside with the receivers we got, especially Ryan Williams. That's going to be a very tough unit to stop. Again, you have to account for so much that there's going to be a weakness, and in terms of matchups somewhere. So and our defense, love Kane Womack, love his style. Got a lot of playmakers over there, a lot of freshmen. But, Saturday we kind of saw a team with all the tools, explosive, played a far more disciplined game, I thought, on Saturday than we've shown in previous games, outside of probably Wisconsin a little bit. But when we had those opportunities, just put the nail in the coffin, finish the game, we didn't really do that. I'd like to see that tunnel vision mentality of win no matter what the external factors are, kind of like that, the famous Coach Saban process. Finish games, and that's where we are now. We're really developing, getting to that later stage of becoming a championship team, and I just want to see that Saturday against Vandy. Are we going to come out slow, trap game type situation? Are we going to come out and get our business done, shut them out, beat them like we should? And look, I know people are saying Vandy is better than they have been historically, and I really like Whit Muschamp, the quarterback over there, great player. But at the end of the day, Alabama, we should beat them handily, and that's what I want to see on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do. These are the games where your coach Nick Saban was unbeatable. I mean, he just didn't lose these type of games. The Louisiana Monroe game was kind of like something that Mike said he used to talk about in the locker room all the time up until he graduated after the 2009 season. Like, hey, these games matter. You were there, and you said it before, and I'll let you tell the story, but he was in these situations. He was very attention to detail oriented.
Yeah, if Coach Saban was still at Alabama, then practice would be, there's about 100% chance that practice would be restarted, or a period would be restarted at some point in the week, and the hat's getting thrown on the ground and somebody's running. Can't stand it when you do this.
You're the star, man. I'm just letting you take over.
But to keep everybody sharp, everybody focused. The opponent doesn't matter. It's the brand of football you put on the field, and that's what I want to see Saturday. Because a lot of times you learn a lot about a team by the way they play the bad games in comparison to the big games. And that's no disrespect. I don't mean it that way. Just a game where everybody in the building knows you should win. Everybody outside the building knows you should win. How are you going to show up? How are you going to prepare? Are you going to play with that perfectionist mindset? And that's what we got to have. I almost think it says more worse about you. I guess it's a worse indictment on you if you've got the talent to play Georgia and beat Georgia, and then come out and lose to a Vandy, because it just, to me, it says you're not very mentally tough, right?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man.
As a team. And so, again, I'm really interested to see what happens on Saturday when now we've got the target on our back.
And we do, but that's been Alabama for a long time. It's just not this year. We came in and the talk from the Paul Feinbaums and, and a bunch of the national guys. Look, and I'm not picking on just Paul, but, hey, this dynasty's over and Alabama's dead and Saban's gone and this and that. And it's like, look, man, I mean, this wouldn't be the first time that someone else took over a dynasty and ran with it. I mean, it happened at Miami. We've seen it happen at Oklahoma and over the course of years. I mean, not recently, but and it's going to happen at Alabama. Kalen DeBoer is going to win a national championship. He's here to win one. I don't know how long he's going to stay, and that, I guess, that's up for debate. And hopefully we really endear him to the program where he feels good about being around long term. But for right now, I mean, I couldn't ask for a better coach, and I hope he stays for a long time. I really like everything about the guy.
Yeah, well, when you look at through the lens of football alone, it's hard to beat what Alabama does from a support side for an Alabama program. Its players, its coaches, its staff. you're going to be hard pressed to find anybody with a more supported program than Alabama. And so, again, if things work out the way that I think they're going to work out, and I think Kalen DeBoer is going to be a star, one of the most sought after coaches in the country. He's definitely going to have some offers, and I think if you do lose him at some point, it's because I think he's going to a place where he really wants to go and win for something other than just monetary value.
Right. I'm with you, and I hope that's no time soon. But we still got a long season to go. I mean, I have definitely been on here throwing punches at Georgia. I think the reason why is I'm just so sick of them. They lose every game against Alabama, and they act like they win every game. Like, you lost again, and then you hear the media and you hear their fans, and it's like they're the kings of the moral victory. They're 1-9 against Alabama in the last 10.
Yeah.
I mean, so is Tennessee, by the way, except they're 1-16 or something, like 1-16.
Oh yeah,
Which
and
is
there's always. I hate to break it, and I hate to be that guy. I sound like an Auburn fan, but there's still an asterisk by those wins that they've got. I mean, it's not like. Well, it's. I guess my point there is, it's not like we. I mean, obviously, there's no passing of the torch. I mean, Alabama's still Alabama, and nobody's unseated us yet. Coach Saban may not be around, but we've got the best replacement possible.
Mm-hmm.
And from what you saw Saturday, again, we're not going anywhere.
I love it, though. I ran into some Auburn fans. And, guys, we're going to be in Nashville, by the way, Friday to record our tailgate show. So if you guys are in town, we're going to be at Live Oak Bar 1 to 4. Taylor Hicks is going to be there with us from American Idol and kind of an Alabama musical star and a good dude. He's part of the tailgate show. So come by and see us. Make sure that you also take advantage of this deal right now. This is the Cover Crimson t-shirt. Jake has one. I have one. Upsize when you get that annual because they're just a little bit smaller, but they fit so good, man. Like, isn't that right?
Oh yeah. No,
I was right.
You
didn't want to give me any credit when I was telling you before. But they're fantastic, though. And you get this with your annual subscription at covercrimson.com. So make sure that you do it or just sign up for $1 and join us as we talk Alabama. Show's brought to you by mybookie.ag. Use the promo code next round for double your initial deposit. So that's mybookie.ag. How hard is it going to be? It's hard for us to switch gears and talk about Vanderbilt. But this Vanderbilt team is really excited about playing Alabama. They have, one of their best offenses that they've had in a while. They almost beat Missouri.
They were pretty excited about playing us in 2017 too, when that D lineman with his high pitched voice said, something along the lines of "We in the SEC" and "Come on Alabama" or something like that. Yeah. They were really excited that year too, man. Let me tell you.
Vandy's been that program that I've just sat back and been like, and this isn't an indictment of the actual program. This is an indictment of the college for not putting the money and the investment in. They're getting the same amount of money that the rest of the SEC is getting. Put it in your football program. Build your stadium up. Have a practice facility. Build your NIL. You're in one of the best cities, maybe the best city in the conference, and that's why we're going up there. Everybody loves Nashville, but it's like it's just an also-ran. Like I was talking to some people, some of my buddies in Nashville sports radio. I'm like, hey man, can you get us on and get me on? I want to promote me being up there for the tailgate show. And they're like, man, we don't even talk about Vandy. And this is in that. they're like high schools. They really treat it like high school. Like they're like, when you play Tennessee, we'll bring you on. I'm like, man, I'm not gonna be in Nashville when we play Tennessee. So.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Nashville's kind of that outlier of Southern schools where the NFL team overshadows the college team. And I mean, I guess they don't have a ton to. I don't know. I can't remember how Tennessee's doing this year, but Vandy's they're the only school that's got more going on within the city that the school's located in than just a football Saturday. Vandy's good at baseball. I'll give them that. But outside of that, they used to be good at basketball. That's gone on. That's in the rearview mirror now too.
Yeah.
But no, Vandy has played. They went to overtime with Missouri. I think Missouri's overrated. Almost beat Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is they're not what they once were, but they got beat by Georgia State. I respect Georgia State. Damian Craig's over there coaching wideouts, and I know that he's done a good job coaching them up. That whole staff has. But still, Vanderbilt. Come on now, SEC school. You don't go losing to Georgia State. So while if they have one of their better games, and I'm sure they will against Alabama, because it's everybody. It's going to be everybody's Super Bowl, just like it has been for the last 17 years. Alabama, it still should be a dominating performance.
Yeah.
They don't have a Ryan Williams, and they don't have a Jalen Milroe. And a Jam Miller and the rest of the posse. It just, we got too many weapons.
I'm a little concerned though about some of the other guys starting to become weapons, because I'll tell you this. So there's a lot of talk about getting Ryan Williams the ball more, and I kind of like him as just that explosive threat. I'm not sure, is his body ready to be a possession receiver?
Well, I feel like there's probably a lot of guys playing at 6'1", 175 now, getting 9 to 11 catches a game and taking a beating in traffic. That's a tall task, but I think he's extremely explosive. You get him running deep routes, he's always going to be a threat. And there's really not much to critique in his game outside of, I don't know if he's got that timing and his landmarks down and that intermediate timing passing game just yet. Obviously those deep balls, when it's just one-on-one coverage and you go get it, he's one of the best in the country, and if not the best in the country. But I don't know if he's quite ready yet to be that guy who's running routes with absolute precision and timing just yet. He's going to be there, and I'm nitpicking on that. But you should really be able to spread it around in the intermediate passing game.
I think that's kind of what we're looking at right now. I really felt like this last game was a coming out party for Milroe, the mid-range passing. He's actually been pretty good at the short stuff, the real short stuff. But the touch pass to Jam Miller was beautiful. When the game was on the line, to throw a perfect ball to Ryan Williams. Ryan took care of the rest, Hollywood. Now you got to look past that and you start thinking about Vandy and Kendrick Law. He's day to day, probably not going to see him. And I know that I kind of said, hey man, the guy's supposed to be a receiver. I know he's blocking a lot, but we missed him when he wasn't in there, man. I just wanted to see him kind of, make some plays besides his blocking, which is important for wide receivers. So they're not going to have him, but Emmanuel Henderson is a guy that you keep an eye on. Yeah. Obviously Bernard is someone that I feel like is just becoming more and more important to the offense. And then, but there really hasn't been and it's hard to compare anyone to Ryan Williams, but there just hasn't been besides Bernard, that other guy where I'm like, okay, you'll see a guy make a catch, but not 2 catches, 3 catches, 4 catches, 5 catches. As a former quarterback, how hard is it to really find those guys on the team and get them more involved?
Well, it takes game time reps. The older guys that you've thrown to for a year or two, those are the guys that, again, those intermediate routes, those short routes, those crossers, when you got to settle it down, or you got to stair step an over route, or you got to get back to the ball on a curl, or keep your dig, keep a dig or dagger out flat so that you don't let somebody undercut it. That's where it takes time. So I mean, there's a lot of detail and route running that I think is taken for granted by people that haven't thrown routes to receivers, especially in games, or gotten a lot of reps in practice. There's a lot of nuance to it, and you got to understand what the defense is trying to do when you're running these routes. And again, when I say that about Ryan, I mean he's 17 and he's had 4 games to play with Jalen. It's not like they've known each other or played with each other for a long time, and you just tell them to run something and it's going to be perfect. I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of different approaches to take when you're running routes, the same route too against certain coverages. So, again, to have that mastered in 4 games is pretty tough. I think K-Law, I think you see a lot of that in him, some just veteran characteristics, and I think he runs routes really, really well. And I think Dupree has done a pretty good job. I mean, he finally got a few balls last week. I'd like to see him get a little bit more involved. Big body. He's pretty reliable. His hands are pretty reliable. I'd love to see him get involved a little bit more. And then, 3, he's got a lot of potential, a lot of explosive potential. And I look to see him make a lot more plays. Saw him and Jalen weren't quite on the same page against Wisconsin a few times where, he didn't convert to a go route or there's a few miscommunication issues throughout that game where it made you realize they're just not quite there yet. But again, when you watch the Georgia game, you see how much when we are clicking and understand what we're trying to do, the talent's there. It's just making sure everybody's on the same page.
All right, final thing on today's episode. I want if you were a coach, your assessment of Jalen Milroe. What do you like about what he's doing right now, and what do you worry about? And what are the things that you anticipate that they're going to change to try to game plan against him as this season moves on from where we're at right now?
Well, I thought the one thing that has helped Jalen from what I've seen in the last 4 games, first 2 games, again, not that starting O-line rotation that we've had the last 2. I think he's really found a lot of comfort behind that starting unit that we got in there now. I think it's pretty obvious he feels very comfortable back there. Is standing in the pocket, moving in the pocket, making throws, seeing everything very well. It's pretty clean. They've done a phenomenal job the last 2 games, and you love to see him finally feel like he's got some stability back there. So again, that's more of an O-line critique and a compliment to them. Jalen, I mean, you watch that Georgia game. He's got 6 incompletions. A couple of them he was pressured on, getting the ball out a little quicker than he'd like. I always love seeing him make plays with his legs. I feel like I don't want him to get that mindset of, you feel like you see that a lot. Guys that want to feel external pressure for having the ability to move really well. They try to do too much with their arm. I still want to see him make plays with his legs. I feel like, having that threat is the most dangerous threat opponents have when we get on the field defensively is again, trying to stop his legs while at the same time trying to guard Ryan Williams and some of the other weapons we have. So, I mean, if I'm attacking him, I'm probably trying to man up most often and put as many bodies on him as possible. You got to mix it up a lot to keep him confused. But, predominantly I'm throwing bodies at Jalen, trying to get him down, trying not to let him make plays with his legs. You may give up a few home runs. It's kind of like Kane, he's not afraid. He's not afraid to bring people. He's not afraid to man people up. And when that happens, you're going to give up big plays. But at the end of the day, consistently, you're going to have a lot of big plays on defense and create a lot of turnovers. And then I can't remember the last part of your question, but I guess to wrap it up, I don't know if there's another quarterback out there that I'd rather have than Jalen on offense for Alabama. I mean, really, honestly, when it comes down to prepping for a game defensively, not a whole lot of answers there. And then even when you do have bodies in the right spots, they still at the end of the day got to make the play. And I'm taking a lot of our weapons on offense over anybody that we play as defense.
Guys, one thing too is that you can look as good as Jalen with the Roback promo code Room20, 20% off your first order. He is a Roback guy. We're Roback guys. You can be too. Room20, 20% off as you get the right gear for those Alabama Saturdays. But a lot of other cool stuff there as well. That's Roback.com and the promo code Room20, 20% off. Well, look, man, this was a lot of fun. I will see you in Nashville on Friday. Thank you, guys. We will have the All-American Report. Clint and I will be on. We've got much more as we cover Alabama. And Vandy, as the number one team in the country, plays as the number one team in the country for the first time under Kalen DeBoer. So thanks for hanging out with us. Again, brought to you by mybookie.ag, promo code next round to double your initial deposit. Take advantage of that. And Cover Crimson. We want you to be a part of what we're doing. Cover Crimson, this shirt right here with the annual subscription, or $1 just to check it out. So take advantage of that. Roll Tide, everybody.